Do you ever wonder what things were like back in the olden days when your parents and grandparents were young? You've probably heard them say things are not like the way they used to be. And it's amazing to see what the difference is between then and now. So let's take a minute to go back in time and take a look at how incredibly different things used to be.
One evening, a grandson was talking to his grandmother about current events. The grandson asked his grandmother what she thought about the shootings at schools, the computer age, and just things in general. The grandma replied, "Well, let me think a minute. I was born before television, penicillin, polio shots, frozen foods, Xerox, contact lenses, frisbees, and the pill. There was no radar, credit cards, laser beams, or ballpoint pens. Man had not yet invented pantyhose, air conditioners, dishwashers, or clothes dryers, and clothes were hung out to dry in the fresh air. Your grandfather and I got married first and then lived together. Every family had a father and a mother, and until I was 25, I called every man older than I, sir. We were before gay rights, computer dating, dual careers, daycare centers, and group therapy. Our lives were governed by the 10 Commandments, good judgment, and common sense. We were taught to know the difference between right and wrong and to stand up and take responsibility for our actions. Serving our country was a privilege, and living in this country was a bigger privilege. Draft dodgers were people who closed their front door when the evening breeze started. We thought fast food was what people ate during Lent, and having a meaningful relationship meant getting along with your cousins. Time sharing meant time the family spent together in the evenings and weekends, not purchasing condominiums. We never heard of FM radios, and I don't ever remember any kid blowing his brains out listening to Tommy Dorsey. If you saw anything with Made in Japan on it, it was junk. The term making out referred to how you did on your school exam. And Pizza Hut, McDonald's, and instant coffee were unheard of. We had 5 and 10 cent stores where you could actually buy things for 5 and 10 cents. Ice cream cones, phone calls, rides on a streetcar, and a Pepsi were all a nickel. And if you didn't want to splurge, you could spend your nickel on enough stamps to mail 1 letter and 2 postcards. You could buy a new Chevy Coupe for $600, but who could afford one? Too bad, because gas was 11 cents a gallon. In my day, grass was mowed, Coke was a cold drink, pot was something your mother cooked in, and rock music was your grandmother's lullaby. Aides were helpers in the principal's office, chip meant a piece of wood, hardware was found in a hardware store, and software wasn't even a word. We were the last generation to actually believe that a lady needed a husband to have a baby. No wonder people call us old and confused and say there's a generation gap. And how old do you think I am? This woman would be only 68 years old.
Folks, as you just seen, there is a definite distinction in the language of the older generations paralleled with the newer generation. You may say the same things, yet there's a clear gap in what each generation means and understands. For example, no to the older generations meant just that, no, because their parents enforced loving discipline behind the word no. But when you say no to the newer generation, oftentimes you see that it only provokes them to do what you told them not to do. Why? Because there's no fear of consequence to the command that you gave. What will that leave you with, America? I'll tell you, an emboldened criminal.